Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Kelly Vanheer.
Hi, thanks for having me, Robbie. Nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you, Kelly. Tell me a little bit about yourself and, if you want, what you do professionally.
Okay, so my name is Kelly. Like I said before, I'm 28 and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. What do I do professionally? So I work full time for a marketing company, which isn't too exciting. So I just work on advertising for a company in Australia that looks after like home appliances, like fridges, washing machines. So very different to chip reviewing.
Yeah, it's funny though, because it goes hand in hand, because advertising is probably something I'm really it's actually something I'm super interested in, mostly because what's the one thing that attracts you to a bag of chips is the same thing that attracts you to an item, is the look of the item, that looks like
Yeah,
the bag or the cover.
yeah, that's very true actually. It's funny because and I feel like I've spoken about this a little bit in my reviews lately. But when it comes to advertising with chips, the amount of like false marketing I feel like there is. So we have a brand in Australia called Smith's, which I think is almost like the equivalent, I want to say, to your Lay's. You guys have Lay's, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
90% air.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Same here. So it's the same deal. Um, but yeah, so the new thing lately is like we have a whole heap of new flavors. So there's like it could be from like anything grilled, basically. So that's like a big thing at the moment. It could be like grilled steak or even like a lot of teriyaki type flavors, but they all taste like barbecue.
See, I was walking with my grandpa in the store the other day, and he's the old school type, like just classic, plain everything, plain hot
Yeah.
dogs, plain all of that. And we're walking through, and we saw, I think it was marshmallow chips. They're like little cheese balls, like the Cheetos, but they're in ball form, and it's marshmallow flavored and s'mores ones. And he's like, "What has the world come to?" And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, "Dude, that sounds. I mean, it sounds appetizing." He goes, "First of all, he understands, the flavor combinations. I think Lace goes out of the way to make some crazy ass combinations with
Yes,
like freaking. I'm pretty sure they probably have a seaweed flavor out there, because there's like biscuits and gravy. There's everything.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because so Smiths did a flavor recently, and it was called Lamington. So in Australia we have, and it's a sweet thing. It's kind of like a little cake. And the inside is like sponge cake with like a jam, which I guess you guys call Jello, so like a strawberry or raspberry Jello jam. And it's covered in chocolate and coconut. So it's like a little cake and it's really popular here. Like people love it. And they made, yeah, so Smith's made that into a flavor. And it was like, it was huge. Like people were like losing their mind. And everyone was like, Smith's shouldn't be making flavors that are sweet. And I did try it and they kind of nailed it.
Well, how do you prefer your chip? Like, do you have a specific brand you go after? Do you have a specific flavor you go after? For me, I'm more of like, all right, now this is a tough one for me, because I have a strong connection with a chip. And I'm going to ask you, because I know you probably have a story, either good experience or bad experience with a chip. But
Okay.
every day through like my senior year, when I first started working out, was spicy nacho Doritos. Well, that first 2 weeks I was at the gym, my first time working out, I was on the treadmill. I was sweating nothing but spicy nacho. I mean, my skin was
Oh,
orange. I have
no.
not eaten a chip since from Doritos. If I walk down the chip aisle, I get a pain in my stomach. I'm like, mm, like,
Okay. So I don't think I've done that before with a flavor, but I feel like nachos or like Doritos would do that just because of that orange stuff, that like weird nobody really knows what it
it's not
is. Orange.
healthy at all, but
No,
they
no.
advertise on that. They're like, "Oh, Doritos," and it's
Yeah.
the guy licking his fingers. And I'm
And
like,
people call it cheese powder, but it's not. It's
it's
not cheese
it's
powder. It's just
artificial.
weird orange. It's weird orange stuff that nobody really knows what it is, but it's really addictive. But I feel like that would happen if you ate a lot of that. You would sweat it out.
Well, I mean, the
Yeah.
Doritos is like the most common for me, at least in my household. It was always like if you're having chili, if you're having some type of soup or something, you get a cracker with it. I mean, spicy sweet chili is like the closest I've ever like to making love to a chip, I would say. Cool Ranch, I was always the basic guys, the unique flavors, but I was never a fan of something where you're like on the go and you have a snack or chip or something and it leaves so much on your hands to where you don't have napkins, so you're just wiping it on your
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I feel like with chips, like they are like all the Doritos and all that kind of orange, like Cheetos, like all that kind of that type of flavoring. And then you have, like a kettle chip or like the clearer ones that are just like a bit lighter. You know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, you might have like, you could have an experience where you could get turned off like Doritos or Cheetos or something like that really easily.
Now, what do you typically prefer? So, like, what's your favorite style, or how, like when you're doing a review or something, what do you typically analyze first? Like, I like a nice chip with a crunch. Like when you bite into it and it sounds like you can hear like that shatter of glass. I love that. Oh man.
I think probably that last. It depends. You know what? I think for that it would depend that and like the texture, probably how much it complements the flavor. So I feel like sometimes like the texture of a chip could work better with a different flavor, if that makes sense.
A
So
texture
that's
of a chip.
something.
Okay, hang on a second. So a texture of a
So
chip that works better with another flavor. So depending on what the
yes.
flavor is that what the type of chip you're going to go after. So if we had like a Dorito, a nice thick kind of hard, and when you bite into it, it kind of breaks off like a shard.
Yeah,
That
because like imagine that flavoring on like a really thin like a Lay's chip or something, like it wouldn't work, right?
well, it's hard because like I think for me, like as a preference, I prefer a nice like crunch factor to it. And with a lace chip,
Okay.
like if you bite into a lace chip and then you bite into a Dorito, the sounds are completely different. It sounds like you
Yeah,
just
extremely
it
different.
sounds like you dropped like a rubber ball and then a baseball. Like there's just that thick thud. So I'm like, I don't know. When it comes to lace chips, those are something you can grab handfuls of and you can tear up a whole
Yeah,
bag. Um,
yeah.
Doritos is more of like a slow it down type of thing. But I mean,
And
I'm a
also like,
pretzel man.
oh, okay.
That's not a chip though, technically.
No, I think it's, yeah, not so much. More on the snack thing, I think. But when I'm
It's in
thinking
the
about
chip
reviewing,
aisle. I don't get it.
yeah, yeah. I guess it could be like technically the thing itself could actually be it's a chip of something, I suppose, if you want to think of it like that. But I think when it comes to reviewing chips, the main thing that I focus on is how much it tastes like what it claims to be. I think that's huge.
Even if it's not something you prefer and taste, like let's say, what's something you really hate to eat?
You mean just like
Any
in
food,
general?
any flavor. What do you hate the most?
Oh wow, what do I hate? Oh, I hate licorice.
So if there
Like
was
that kind
a
of.
licorice flavored chip, would you review that honestly, even putting your own opinions aside on that?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Wow, that's a bold move of you.
Yep.
Because I feel like a lot of what that's why I always look at reviewers, why there's so many is the fact is because you have your own personal preferences. Some people like the taste of like, jams and jellies and other people don't. I mean,
Mm,
if you toss out a lace chip and it says like dill pickle, for instance, a lot of people are not fans of pickles. But I saw that and it tastes pretty good. It's pretty spot on.
you've tasted pickle flavored chips? Is that
You've
what you're
never
saying?
had a pickle flavored chip?
No. So actually, speaking of um, Rick and Morty, the show,
Yeah.
they did a limited edition. Pringles did a limited edition flavor called Pickle Rick, which you sell in America, but you don't sell here. And also, we just released. Doritos Australia just released a cheeseburger flavor, and I haven't tried them yet, but I'm getting to a point here. I haven't tried them yet, but I saw another reviewer mention that they taste like a cheeseburger only because of like you could pick up on a pickle flavor. So I'm just wondering, like when you had the pickle flavored chips, did it remind you of a cheeseburger? And then, yeah, and also Another point. So, I mean, imagine tasting like a cheeseburger flavored chip, or, something that encompasses a lot. And how do you, when you taste something, or like, how does the company uh, get it to taste or remind you of something so whole? So this reviewer said that the reason that it worked was because you could get the pickle flavor.
I think you're way behind in Australia with all the chips that have
Oh
come out.
no.
Because the pickle one's been around forever. The cheeseburger has probably came out like 4 years ago.
Okay.
We've had that for a long time. I haven't really seen any new crazy combinations of chips. I think we went from going to all these unique different flavors to going over to extremely like burning hot flavors, like the roulette Doritos, the ones where it was like a
Oh
challenge.
yeah. Yeah. But in
Uh,
saying that, just in our defense, we have had a cheeseburger flavored chip before, and
yeah.
it did taste a little pickly. But yeah, I was just wondering, like, would
How do
you
you get
say
your
like
chips? Like, have you gotten into the smuggling game? I feel like that's what you'd have to do because I have a buddy that's up in Canada who does cereal reviews. Shout out to David, but he has to go to like meet somebody near like near the border just to get bags or boxes of
Oh,
cereal.
really? Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to find someone like that. We're so far away from everybody over here.
yeah. It's a lot harder because I mean all the main factories are like down here. Like even some of the states, I'm farthest to the east. So when it comes to like, the giant manufacturing companies that are out in like Wisconsin or somewhere out there that are manufacturing these chips, they get it all first and then we get it like a month or two later. Um,
Yeah, right.
but
There's
it's
like,
go ahead.
oh, we do have like, I know Japanese Lays, which is really awesome. And I've tried a few of theirs, and they always taste like what they're meant to. There are a few like Asian like grocery stores in Melbourne where you can find like a whole heap of stuff, which I haven't done enough of. Or there was a place in the city called Treats from Home, but it was like all English, like snacks and stuff. So I tried Walkers, which is kind of similar to Lay's, I suppose, and our Smiths.
See, I
But
just have a strong relationship with Doritos, but at the same time, I really don't like Lay's. I mean, I'm okay with it. Like it's an okay chip. They have some nice flavors, but I feel like
well, I don't enjoy our equivalent of it either, to be honest.
it's the false advertisement. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
air. I mean, they give you
Yeah.
this giant bag. You think you're getting a lot, but all these chips, they're so thin. So it's like, I mean, like my work used to do it. They used to cook the little potato chips, like roast them or something. So you would get these nice, thick, hard, crisp chips. I like that. But when you bite into like a lace, it's like biting into a piece of paper, like a really, really thin. Like it's just there's no that crunch factor or that fulfilling factor. You got to eat a lot of them. Next thing you know, you're a bag down. I mean, if you're gonna do reviews, like you're putting, I guess, your own feelings aside from things. Do you also try and explain like what it would be good for? Like, do you go on like, oh, this is a good travel chip if you're going to go on a convenience thing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's definitely chips for occasions too, I think.
Where would sun chips fit into the occasion?
Sun chips.
You've
What's a sun chip?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, what's a sun chip?
This is like the vegan of chips. It's like
The,
it's been around forever. It's a really really thin whole grain chip, but the bag is biodegradable, so it's really freaking loud. Like trying to open it is like construction noise going off. Like you can't do it silently. Like there's no night eating with this chip. But it's like roasted garlic and herb, and then they have original, but they don't really go out
okay.
of the flavor combinations. They stick with the basics.
Okay, sun chip. Oh, I will look into that then.
Like that would be
Yeah.
one, and then we have. I'm a big pretzel guy. I don't like Utz. Like I like when Utz makes pretzels. I don't like them when they make chips. It's the same thing as Lace. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? But there's an Old Bay chip. Have you ever had Old Bay? It's crab
No, I don't
seasoning.
think we have that. What is it?
It's crab seasoning.
Crab seasoning.
So it's like it makes it
Okay.
taste like what you put on crabs when you eat them. So it's like the whole like that's a big thing here in Maryland because we're known for Maryland crabs. So
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
oh, that's a good one. Like Lace did something pretty cool. They did a chip based on every single state, what was known to that region. So like in Boston or in I think it was Maine, you would get lobster because that's what's known down there. So they had a lobster roll chip. And then you would go like down to the south, like Tennessee was barbecue flavor. And it was pretty interesting to get to see like because that's what everyone eats down there. It's like what's local and what's every like kind of the stereotypical thing you would get.
Right. Okay. I've had I've tried like prawn cocktail, which
Prawn
was interesting.
cocktail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like I'd
Um,
like it, but I've just never heard of a prawn cocktail.
oh yeah, no, if you see it, you'll definitely it's kind of like a I feel like it's kind of like an hors d'oeuvre that would have been served in the 80s, really. And I'm not sure why it's a chip flavor now. So if you imagine like a martini glass and it's got like, oh, shrimp, like
Shrimp.
shrimp,
Okay, a
sorry,
shrimp
shrimp
cocktail.
cocktail. We
I
say
got.
prawns.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry.
There's a country difference there. I was trying to think. I was like, because I know
I
prawns
was
are.
like, no, you have to know. You know that for sure. You know what I mean, right? Like with the
Yeah.
like,
No, it has like
yeah,
a
yeah,
like a little dipping sauce. Sometimes you get a red one, and then it's all the shrimp kind of hanging off the sides. Yeah,
yeah, that's the one.
we call
Yeah.
prawns here something completely different. It's an actual like creature. It's a like one of those crawfish type things or prawns.
Okay. Yeah, we consider prawns kind of the same thing, but we think of shrimps as like something like much smaller.
Does it
I
ever
don't
get
know.
hard, like with just the difference between countries trying to do chip reviews? Like, I mean, if you're trying to find chips and like, do you go out of your way to get like a more popular chip, or do you go out of your way to find like one of the hidden gems? I feel like what really,
I think yeah, I'm a fan of the hidden gems just because, like I mentioned before, so Smith's is really big here, and I'm not a huge fan. Just because I think their flavors are too predictable. Like even if they sound exciting or people are like, oh, like you have to try these ones. And like I said before, they always kind of taste the same. So they always kind of taste like barbecue if they're trying to be like a grilled something or other. I think the most interesting one I've tried was haggis. Um, yeah, and I've never eaten haggis before though. So that
it's
was it
not,
was a
not,
brand
it's not,
called
it's not the
yeah, it
best.
was a brand called Mackenzie's that I found like in a grocery shop here. And it tastes really bad. Like it tastes really bad. It's kind of like a kettle chip, so it's kind of like that.
Haggis isn't good in general. I'm just saying, I've had that
Have
by
you
itself.
tried haggis? Yeah, kind of. I've never tried it, so I couldn't really compare. But still, I mean, you could eat something and be like, okay, that's kind of like that's pretty good anyway. But it's like, I mean, I've never eaten a dog biscuit before either. But you'd kind of imagine, yeah, it was really bad.
I look at
But
like
you
because
have to. I mean, that's what you like. You still have to try stuff, even if you.
yeah, I mean, I go to there's a discount store near where I used to go to college at, and it was called Ollie's, and they have like it's like the weirdest bargain store you would ever find, like just odds and ends of stuff you've never basically heard of before. It's the best cereal collection. I could get a box of Honey Smacks for like 149, and that's fucking awesome because they're $5 in a regular store. Uh, but like walking by, like they had the like I was saying the s'mores flavored chips. But then there was like Smoky Pete's, and it was all like cheeseburger, roasted barbecued ribs, all these other types of things. And then you would go over to like where the cheese balls are, and they had the more of like the. It's really weird when you taste one of these crazy combinations, like chocolate souffle. You're like, how did they get a chocolate souffle and a chip? And then you bite into it,
Well,
and it's that special ingredient, but it's the same thing like a candle. It's not actually tasting like that food. It's just tasting to what the similar notes of it are like. Like you smell a
yeah.
candle, for
Well,
instance. I got berry and tobacco. You smell it, you're like, oh, it smells exactly like berry and tobacco. It's tricking your brain to think that it smells like that.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I meant before about like the whole cheeseburger flavors. Like they have to pick something that will kind of like remind you or make you think of like, yeah, that's that as a whole, as opposed to like biting into a chip and being like, oh, I can taste the meat and like lettuce in a bun and you know.
Well, if you're going to be the chip connoisseur, me and you are about to take a trip into a grocery store. So we're going to the beach. Okay.
Okay.
We got the board shorts on. We got the coolers. All we need to do is we need to find food. So we're walking to the chip
Okay.
aisle now. What are we picking based on what you want to get and based on what I want to get?
Okay, and we're going to the beach.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna say we're gonna go with like a lighter one. So we're staying clear of anything orange. We've
Good one.
got
I like that. All right, good. You already
yeah,
got me hooked in.
yeah. So I think we'll go with like maybe like sour cream and onion, maybe. Um, do they have you tried that before?
I
That's really nice,
I
I think.
was never
Like a
really
thin.
it was never really my favorite sour cream and onion, but then as I got
Okay.
older, it's weird because my tastes have changed. Like stuff I used to hate as a kid, I'm like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good."
Okay. Yeah, so I would say we would go with that. Um, and some beers as well, maybe some watermelon. If we're going off the chip thing, are we going in general
If you
or
want to go
just
around
sticking
the
to chips?
store, sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there should be some fruit in there. I don't have outside of fruit, I don't have a sweet tooth like whatsoever, so I don't really enjoy anything sweet,
Yeah, same.
which is why I think I like chips so much, and
Does
saltier
that get
things.
hard when you got to review like a dessert chip? Like, I mean, I'm not a fan. Like, it's just so hard for me to like to not like if you're gonna recommend chips or do reviews for them, like setting aside your own personal preference, it gets probably a little bit difficult when it comes to the ratings because when you come across a chip where you're like, damn, that's a really good chip, and then it's like, how are you gonna write a review on a chip that you hate? It's like I mean, it's good. I'm trying to think of what someone else would like. I mean, people have all these different preferences and stuff, but I think what really gets me about like a certain food item is the amount that it links to your memory. When you bite
Mm,
into it and it's just like a flashback to your childhood or something, like pretzels for me is I like the crisp factor. I like you would take the long pretzel sticks and act like cigars and sit there out in front of the store and some guy be like, "What are you doing, kids?" Like, "I'm smoking cigars." And but like my grandmom, she would create these pretzel rod things where she would roll them in caramel and then put M&Ms, chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, all these different things, and then you would freeze them. And every time on Christmas, she makes them. So everybody's going to everybody else's house and stealing them out of the freezer so they don't have to ruin their own stash. It is the funniest thing, but like we don't know what they're called. We just call them those pretzel things.
those pretzel things. I think everyone kind of has like a snack thing like that. So I haven't done this personally as someone who reviews chips, but it could be something I should possibly do on my page. And it's like chips in sandwiches.
Chips and sandwich. You mean putting a
Yeah,
chip inside of a sandwich?
yeah, just filling that up.
That's a rough one. What chip are we talking about here? You ever had bugles?
No, I haven't had bugles, but I've heard of those. I'm not sure we have those here.
My buddy Jigs, he used to own a podcast. It was called The Bugles, and it was over a bag of bugles. Those things you would put on your fingertips like little claws, and you would do that type of thing. If you put that in a sandwich, you are in a world of pain because you will get one of those things jabbed right into the roof of your
Yeah.
mouth.
No, it has to be a flat one, I think. It has to be a flat kind of not so crunchy, like like a nice thin chip in the middle. And maybe pretty plain, like maybe just like an original like salt.
I used to do
Nothing
spicy
too.
nacho Doritos on top of a PB&J, and let me tell you something. That's pain.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay, that's an interesting mix of flavors.
I didn't.
On top.
I was an idiot. Well, I wouldn't put it on top. I'd put it in the sandwich. I was an idiot when it
Oh,
came to making a PB&J because I would use a steak knife because I was too lazy to wash a butter knife. So I would basically rip up this piece of bread while I was spreading it, and I would only get like a giant glob in the middle. So the first three bites are like nothing but bread, and then there's just this giant glob of peanut butter. And my dad just looks at me. He's like, "Why don't you just take your time and make a nice sandwich?" I'm like, "I don't give a shit. It's all going in the same place anyway." He's like, "But you're just getting one glob of peanut butter in a bite. The rest of it's just bread." I'm like, "Yeah, don't judge me."
oh no. Well, I mean, if you enjoy it, like that's
It's a
fine. But
convenience factor. I think a lot of like
yeah.
you start to notice in the world now too is everyone's moving pretty fast pace. So I think like chips, they're coming in more like travel size things, but it's like you can't eat a Dorito on the road. You can't eat a Dorito in the office. They sell them in every single vending machine just based on how popular the flavor is, but it's not like when I go somewhere like to the beach, if I go somewhere like to work or something and they have a vending machine, I'm gonna get a bag of chips. I try and go for something that I'm not going to be held down right after I get done eating it. Like it's gonna need a lot of cleanup. I want something basic, salt and vinegar, something where I can just easily
Yeah.
eat it and then get over with my day. But for instance, like one chip I really don't like, Funyuns.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
don't know why. There's just not a lot of flavor there for me.
so the equivalent of that here, what's because we don't have that brand, but we have what's the flavor of that?
It's like plain. It's just a little rings, little things like yeah, they're literally like they look like onion rings. I guess that's
Yeah,
what they're
yeah, yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
resemble. They just don't have any flavor at all for anybody. It's just like you bite into it. It's like I feel like I just bit dusted air.
Okay. Yeah. So actually our Pringles over here, they've made the cans smaller and shorter.
So you can get your
I don't
hand
know.
in there.
Hey,
So you can get your hand in there.
but this it's smaller instead of like bigger. They've made them smaller.
Oh, they went downsizing it.
Yeah, they downsized.
Why are they doing that? I think that's
I
like
don't not sh- I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like I mean, I don't want to say like a health reason because like I mean
diabetes.
they're chips, but
It's probably a health reason, but it seems more of like a money aspect to it too. Like let's give them less chips for
yeah,
the
I
same
think so.
price.
They are more expensive as well, I'm pretty sure.
They did the best thing when they made those other stacks cans, the ones where you can actually squeeze it and it moves the can. Because, like, nobody could get their hand all the way inside of a Pringles can, and then you're sitting there dumping it over and you're getting crumbs all over you. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't a fun
Or it
trip.
should have like a does it twist? Is that what it does? So you twist it up or
No, there's a thing where the can, instead of being like aluminum like it is where it's hard, it's made of like some type of it's bendable plastic. So now when you can just bend it and it'll form to stick your hand all the way actually in there.
oh, is
Yeah.
that does that make it easier?
Look up Pringles stacks is what they call it. It comes in like a blue can. The can doesn't look as appealing, I would say, but yeah, it makes it so none of the chips can get cracked. It also
Which is like the purpose of Pringles. Like if you've ever watched TV commercials from when Pringles first came out, and it's all about how like the dad comes home with a can of Pringles for the family and just kind of like lays them out because they don't get squashed or broken, which
what
is kind of stupid. Like it's so
what
ridiculous.
fucking job does that guy have where he comes home and bringing home Pringles is makes the whole family happy? That's crazy.
But you can imagine because of the time it was made, I don't know, maybe it was like 70s, maybe earlier.
I see
Um,
there are some commercials I've seen, like Doritos did a really good one with the goat. I don't know if you ever seen the goat one, where it's like the goat eating the Doritos and the guy put goat for sale and the goat kicks open the door and the guy goes and the goat just goes ah! Ah! And just starts screaming and it's like the funniest thing, but it got your attention. But there used to
I'm
be an
pretty
old
sure I'm pretty sure Brad Pitt was in one, like really, really early, like very young Brad Pitt. If
that's
you look it up.
that's what they did with the Super Bowl. They had Sam Elliott and they had Little Nas from Old Town Road, and there was a
Oh,
Doritos
okay.
commercial. And then before that one, they had Fiery versus Cool Mountain Dew, and it was Mountain Dew and Doritos teamed up. And what they did was they had Morgan Freeman and Peter Dinklage all in the same commercial. So it was very good branding for the chips. But I think the best is probably Goldfish. I mean, you can't beat goldfish. I feel like those are just like the best kid time snacks. You don't get a lot of powder on your fingers. They're easily playable. They're shaped like animals. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had animal crackers before, but that was a staple when I was a kid.
We had a snack called Tiny Teddies, which was pretty much just little is
That was
it the name?
awesome. I'm sorry. You guys, that's perfect. Tiny teddies is it teddy bears?
Yeah, tiny teddy bears,
Yeah,
just
Teddy
like little.
Grams.
Yeah, okay, is that what you called it?
Yeah, we have Teddy Grams and then the original animal crackers.
Okay, we had tiny teddies, which is just like they could be like chocolate or vanilla, and they were just like little teddy bears in a pack like that big, but so satisfying.
I'm
And
so
I think,
jealous of you guys when it comes to your brand names. You guys have way better names for stuff like Rice Krispies is Rice Bubbles, and then
yeah, rice bubbles, yeah.
Where's Waldo is Where's Wally. Like that's
Where's Wally?
way better shit than what we have. We just have like I hear your guys' crazy combinations. I'm like, I wish I had that over here.
Oh, that's good. That makes me proud. That's nice.
Yeah, be proud of Australia. I mean, I wish you guys had more brands over there when it came to like all the flavors we have, because like I can always tell the difference of like where you're from just on the base of like the page, just because on what chips you guys have. I'm like, oh, they don't have this, they don't have that, and I've commented like I know people that do cereal reviews and they're just doing the basic ones. I'm like, where's Honey Smacks? Why don't we? That's my favorite cereal. I got salmonella on that cereal. Like I love it to death.
You're
And
really into cereal by the sounds of it.
don't say that to my buddy David who reviews them because he would be upset. But no, I'm into certain. It's a nostalgia food for me. It's what I had as a kid. So it's like
Okay.
same thing with chips, like pretzels. Nostalgia for me. Um,
Okay.
but goldfish, though, seriously, that is a fun. That's a fun treat for kids. Like if you're a child, even if you're an adult, they have the basic and awesome flavors to it. Pretzels are good.
We have like little and it would be the exact same thing, but they're little. I can't remember what they're called exactly. It could be like jumperoos, or but they're like little tiny kangaroo shaped, and it's like the exact same thing. So instead of like the goldfish thing, they're kangaroos, and they're
I
super enjoyable. Like there's something nice about like little in such small like little packs, but I suppose when you get older, you
No,
just
it's
want to
it's
like.
still it's still nice, but I like it when you find one that's like completely deformed. It's like, what the hell happened to this little kangaroo? Got hit by a car.
Yeah.
It's but have you ever came across an off-brand that was better than the original? Because Goldfish, it's good. It has pizza flavors, probably the best, but they have at the dollar store, so it's $1 for a whole box. Whales. It
Oh,
they didn't
wow.
they
Okay.
didn't try hard on the name difference at all, but they're shaped like whales. But I don't know what it is about the cheddar and what it is about like the salt that they put on it, but it is so much sweeter and way more enjoyable.
Oh, I am. So I went to Aldi, and I tried a few of their. Do you guys have Aldi?
Aldi?
Aldi, Aldi. No,
I don't know what you're talking about.
no. Okay. Well, that's another like it's another grocery kind of chain here. But I feel but and they kind of have everything similar to what you'd have in like a really big like a popular one. But like the brands are just slightly different, like a slightly different name, or but essentially like a really similar packet.
Yeah,
And a lot of people say they're really great. And I tried some and it was just, yeah, it was like the saltiest thing I've ever eaten, ever. And it was just, yeah. So now I'm kind of skeptical of like dollar store type. I don't, yeah.
I think when we talk about like the advertising or the marketing behind chips, I think it all kind of really stems from what catches your eyes, like we're saying. But I think it's also because of how everybody tried to become like a health nut now. Everyone's all about like, what's the carbs on these chips? What's the sugar
Yeah.
content? Oh, it's too much sodium. It's like, are you really going to risk that for flavor? Like, I mean, I think what was pretty good, and they're not bad. Veggie straws are pretty good. Um, they just didn't have a long. I don't know if you ever heard of veggie straws, but they're like little thin. They look like straws, basically, like you would put in your drink,
Okay.
but they're vegetables. So they're like some of it, like the orange ones were carrots, the other ones were this, and they were actually the nutrients. So it was to get a little bit healthier. But
Yeah, we have a lot of that, and they're actually pretty good. Like I've tried a few. They kind of have like we have like they're almost like beans, like salted beans and stuff, and some of them are like really crunchy and they're really delicious.
yeah, and I think
But
what
I think when it gets to people like when it's people getting self-conscious about like how much of this is in this, and it's like it's chips. You know what I mean? Like if you're really going to be thinking about that, then maybe don't eat them at all.
do you count popcorn as a chip?
No, not at all.
So you're only talking about like the thin circular ones, kind of like the stereotypical chip, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about the crazy combinations of people putting them into like desserts? Like besides the chip reviews that you do, where do you stand on that? Like I mean, if you go to like a Home Goods or a Ross or any of these like weird kind of furniture places that kind of sell like the off-brand odds and ends, like the keto stuff or whatever, you'll come across like a chocolate peanut butter chip or something like that. I'm like, that's not a chip, man. Chips are like the basics. I'm a simple guy.
Yeah. Um probably not. So the flavor that I mentioned earlier, Lamington, which is kind of like a really popular cake here in Australia, that Smiths came out with like Lamington flavored chips, and everyone was like, okay, this is really odd. So I did try those because I was like, I have to try these. And they did really taste like Lamington, but I was like, oh, it's like chips aren't really supposed to be sweet, like outside of like sweet chili and sour cream or something, which is still really salty. Like I'm not really into the dessert kind of chip savory crossover.
What's your
Yeah, I
most,
don't know.
I guess, fascinating memory with a chip? Like I told you mine, like from the pretzel things. When I was a kid, my grandma making those every Christmas. What about you? You got to have one.
My most fascinating memory with chips.
Either it could be growing up, could be
Mm.
when you're older, could have been a certain trip you were on. I always look at like good moments you have in your life, and usually whatever you're doing, if you're eating something, like airplanes, they sell peanuts. Baseball games sell peanuts.
Yeah,
You always
I
remember
think
those.
I remember sitting like I maybe like yeah, so my favorite flavor when I was little was just chicken, just like chicken flavored chips, like crinkle cut ones. Um and maybe I just remember like sitting in the trolley, shopping cart trolley thing, like when you go grocery shopping, and my mum would
Yeah.
always give me that open before we went through the, but I'm not sure if I have anything, I don't know, fascinating or standout. It's kind of just a, yeah, it's kind of just like an enjoyable snack thing. Like I've never really been into anything sweet. So,
How do
and
you
I
eat?
think the reason,
Well, how do you
I
eat your
think
chips though? That all depends. Like, do you go handfuls first and shove them all in your mouth, or do you just do one at a time? My
one
grandma
at a
does the.
time,
That's insane. That is
one at a
fucking
time.
mental.
Popcorn, always by the handful, absolutely. But chips have to be one at a time, especially if you're really enjoying it. Like it has to
I'm
be like a one at a
such the
time thing,
opposite.
so you can really savor it. Like I think I don't think I would want to just get like a palmful and then have all that flavor on your hands.
No, my grandma, she taught me this when I was like 4 years old. So here's a memory, for example. I was playing basketball outside and I came in and there's a back patio. My grandma's sitting there with a little tiny ass bowl of salt and vinegar potato chips. Now I'm like a kid. So for me, chips is like scarfing it down hard. And she's just taking one, puts it right on top of her tongue, and then sucks on it for like 5 minutes. And it was I couldn't. I just couldn't. I looked at her. I was like, how? Like, it's been 2 hours and there's barely any chips gone. And she's like, you have to learn to enjoy the little things, Robbie. Try it. And like, as soon as I put it in my mouth, all you hear is me swallow it. I'm like, it's just natural. I just freaking
Well,
immediately.
when I say one at a time, like I do, it's a constant thing. Like it's not kind of like a one walk away, like have another one a bit later. Like it's definitely like, one after the other, but just never by the handful. The one thing I can't understand about some people, and I wish I had this kind of self-control, is the people that can open a pack of chips, like have half, roll it up and put it away.
Psychopaths.
Yeah, they can't be trusted. Yeah. I've seen people do it, and yeah, it's just like, but you're really enjoying them. Like it's salty, like it's stuff that's so addictive. Like you never put stuff like that. I can never understand that.
This is the reason why I get this certain Jello at my Food Line, because it's just a bag of like fun little square shaped little Jello bites. They're like high protein, low calorie type things, but you can eat the whole bag and it's 45 calories. I don't know about you, but when I get a bag of anything, chips, cookies, whatever, it's like I just keep eating the whole bag. There's no stopping and rolling it up and saving it for later. It's usually the whole thing. So I'm like, this is perfect. I can eat the whole thing and not feel like I mean, I used to eat bags of Doritos before I got really into fitness, and that was like 1,000, 2,000 something calories a bag, and I would just eat it all in one sitting and be fine. Like my metabolism wouldn't do anything. If I did that now, I would gain like 50 pounds.
Yeah, I think that happens once you after a certain age. I think I've definitely started exercising more after just deciding to like review chip, which to be honest, I don't think I'm eating any like more chips than I did before I started reviewing them. I think it was kind of like it pretty much started because at work, I would go and buy a pack of chips and then like get everyone to taste them or just be like, what do you think of these? Or blah, blah, blah. And then just started posting them on my own Instagram, kind of just for fun. And then it kind of turned into a thing. And people are so nice about it and people are really supportive. And it's weird because, I mean, I did know that like reviewing of any type of food is like really big now when it comes to like unboxing or like this is
It's
what it
the
looks like.
pleasure of
And
seeing somebody else enjoy it and then you not enjoying it yourself. It's weird because there used to be a show called King and Queens back in the day with
yeah,
Kevin, I think Kevin's James, I think his name is.
yeah.
Um there was a woman on there that ordered a plate of donuts and told Carrie, who's played by oh my god, she's my celebrity crush too. What's her name? Oh,
I
no way,
don't
I'm forgetting. She's into science.
I don't remember her name,
Leah
but I know
Remini.
that
Leah Remini.
okay.
Okay. Well, she orders a plate of donuts or whatever, and the one actress is like, I want to see you eat those donuts. And she goes, why don't you just have one? She goes, I get off on watching other people eat food. That's part of her diet. So she could physically get the satisfaction from watching someone eat. And that's what we're doing on Instagram when we see someone devouring a food or trying a food, you're picturing in your mind them eating it, and immediately you're like, I don't have the craving anymore. It's so freaking weird. It's why, like, when you look or follow a food page, you follow something like a dude with a 10-pound pizza slice, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. And then you double tap it. Like, I wonder what that would be like. It's because they're living the fantasy for you.
That's actually a really interesting. I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, I think that there is probably a lot of truth in that, I guess, because it's such a process as well when you watch certain people's reviews of stuff because it's like it just starts so like, well, here's the pack and this is what it looks like and this is the brand and these are the colors and then you kind of open it and this is what it smells like and blah blah blah. So yeah, I guess like that's interesting though. I've never thought about it like that.
Do you prefer, like, I would have to say, like, I mean, before I even ask this, what's your worst experience with a chip? You got to have one. Are you kidding me? One chip? I mean, I had a Doritos story where I would never eat Doritos again. You got to have one bad experience.
No, I don't think they've ever made me that unhappy.
Not one chip, or like it was just like you were sick and then it linked
Maybe
to that chip.
no. I think maybe a flavor that a lot of people love that I can say that I really don't is salt and vinegar because it hurts like it kind of hurts the roof of your mouth like it
The salt kind of like
some
the sodium in it or whatever kind of dries it out, makes it wrinkly a little bit.
Yeah, some chips can do that where they kind of yeah, then you tend to think like, oh, okay, maybe this is really bad for me because this is just what is this exactly? But
So even with, like, we talk about the advertising of it too, I think the bags, like, what chip brand do you think does it the best? I feel like Doritos is just with the colors they use.
so we have a brand here called Red Rock Deli. And they're probably my favorite. And they're kind of like you would they're like a kettle chip basically. Kind of like a gourmet chip. That's how I like to think of them, like a fancier one.
I feel like
Um
Cheetos has the best mascot. It's the only reason why I think I've ever ate Cheetos was because Chester.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's such like that's I mean, that's definitely for kids. I think that's what like I suppose like that's how you think of it when you're growing up, like what kids really eating kettle chips.
I used to
Um
see, I used to get Cheetos because of Chester the Cheetah, and then I saw a Family Guy episode when I was a kid where it was the Cheeto tiger, and he was snorting Cheetos off his glass table, and he slams the table and screams, and he gets glass on his hand. He's like, "It ain't easy being cheesy." Completely changed the way I thought of Chester the Cheeto.
Well, we have like, so I guess that, yeah, I mean, a lot of kids would have like experiences with those kind of a chips, and they're all the orange ones, like they're all those, like we have burger rings, which is kind of just like orange rings, and people would like, you put them on your finger or you stack them on your finger, or we have cheezels, which is they're rings as well, but they're kind of like short tubes, so they're a lot thicker, and again coated in the mysterious orange flavor that people would like stick on their fingers and stuff. Twisties, do you have twisties?
They're probably something else down here. Are they like Fritos?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. They're really big here.
I look on like when I
Um,
look at a chip or something, I'm wondering who they made it for. Like who's the advertising? Which way did they go? Are they making it for the public? Are they making it for kids? For some reason, every time I live in a beach town, so it's always water nearby. I mean, going to pools was always an everyday thing. It kind of ruined me from chips. Like goldfish is the only chip I think is good in a pool scenario because when you're soaking wet, it's nice to have that. But if you're soaking wet in like board shorts or in your bathing suit, you don't want Doritos. You don't want something
no,
that's
not
going to
at
leave powder all
all.
over your
Well,
hands. You're
there's
going to feel all
definitely
slimy.
like, yeah, I think there's definitely chips for different occasions and different ages as well. Like so that brand Red Rock Deli, or it could be Kettle actually, but they have a flavor that's camembert and fig, which like, I mean, what kid's gonna eat camembert and fig chips? But they're delicious.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's something that you'd picture on like a charcuterie board or like a cheese platter or something, you know.
Where do you
Um,
stand on pizza combos or the combos chips, the pretzels with the little things inside of them?
I don't think I've tried anything like
Oh,
that.
you're
Explain.
killing me. You're killing
Yeah,
me. I
yeah.
I lit up
But
freaking
pretzel pizza
please
combos.
please look up combos on your phone. What is it called? Hold on. What's it called? There's another chip that's similar to this one and it comes with all the variety. Like it's like Chex Mix, the little variety of other things that are in it. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my god, it's gonna kill me. Rice Chex, not the cereal, but there's a chip. There's a,
Okay.
look up
What did you say it was called?
combos first.
Combos. Combo snacks, combos cheddar cheese.
Do you see them? They're like a bag and they're little pretzel
Oh,
things.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
that
Baked
is
pretzel.
there's a pizza combo one that is, oh my god, that is what I, if I ever go on a road trip anywhere, I always get pizza combos. That's my road snack
Right. Okay.
because all
No,
that
I'm
dust and
not.
stuff is inside of it. So when you put the pretzel in your mouth, none on your fingertips. It's the best snack for travel.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do in a car is have to like,
You're
yeah,
sitting there
like,
palming the wheel, and the next thing you know, you got your
yeah.
forehead on the steering wheel trying to turn the thing because you got Doritos on your hands. And then there's the Chex Mex stuff, which is like it's like a they used to come in giant tubs. It used to be like pretzels, rice checks, a bunch of other different things like little crispy potato chip pieces, little thick thin breadstick pieces, and it would all be a variety of things. So you're getting a handful of just different things at once. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to a lot of scenarios, when it comes to Cheetos and stuff, that's a snack you got to sit down and enjoy. Doritos the same kind of way. If you're going camping, it's a good thing. You know, if you're going to mix it in with something. And I think what's interesting, especially in Australia, you come across all the barbecue people that are down there. You should link up with one of the barbecue people. I know a few I can hook you up with. I mean, what they do is they use the chips as a rub. So what they do is
Oh, yes, I've seen so much of that. So, I've seen like people make their own chicken nuggets and use like crush up chips and use it like instead of breadcrumbs or something.
so
I've
I'll,
definitely
I'll
seen that.
I'll get a few people to message out to you. Maybe you can. I know a few people that would you probably be good to talk to with that are out in Australia.
Awesome.
They would love chip recommendations on stuff they could use for a
Cool.
certain type of meat. That just means you have to figure out what would be the best to work with the best. You can't really add a cheeseburger flavor onto like a cheeseburger. You know what I mean? You'd have to pick something
No,
for variety.
no. It's crazy how many yeah, just talking about like people who are like review food and all that kind of thing. Like I didn't real there's almost like a chip community, and it's crazy. Like there's just the amount of people around the world who review chips. And they're so supportive.
Yeah, Dan from
Um
Crisp Corner, he was on here a little bit
Yes,
back
I
ago.
do
Yeah.
follow Crisp Corner actually. Those guys are awesome. If there's going to be a super famous like if there's going to be super famous chip reviewers on Instagram, could be them. They could be the first really big ones. They're very good, those guys.
It's interesting. I love it because there's all these little communities. I mean, I talked to a hot sauce community, ice cream community, pizza community, all these things. It's crazy to see how, positive most of it is. You're going to come across some people that are really entitled when it comes to how big of the community it is. The chip community,
Yeah.
luckily, is not the biggest in the world. It's the same thing. You come across
No.
barbecue community, you're going to come across people that are going to be like, bro, you don't even know how to smoke meat. Like, it's going to be that type of talk. It's the same thing podcasting is, all of it. But I think it's interesting because if any of us noticed during lockdown, we got into some really weird shit. I think everybody
Oh
got
yeah.
really bored and was just like, I'm going to start
Yeah.
ordering stuff. Like, you ever seen wish.com?
Oh my goodness, yes.
They
Yeah.
sell some weird things.
Yeah, it pops up on my Facebook feed.
What do you get on Wish? What does it recommend to you?
Some things I'm like, what is that? I've seen like a lot of probably drug related utensils, I guess is an interesting way to put it.
It's better than
Um,
mine. Mine showed me a lightsaber. Then it showed
oh,
me,
that's awesome.
hold on, it gets worse. A lightsaber, a medieval torture device, and then a BDSM mask, then a bunch of chains and ropes and whips. And I'm
Yeah,
like, what the
it's a
fuck?
lot of that.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
it's a
talk
lot of
about
that.
this or look this up at all. Why am I getting this?
Yeah.
It's
And it's funny, like it's funny that that's kind of everyone's first reaction. Like I never talked about this. Like I know someone's listening to me, but like why is this coming up?
we're,
Yeah, that thing is so weird. Wish is so strange.
we're required to start wearing face masks when we go out into like stores and stuff. So I'm like, maybe I should just order a BDSM mask, like the GIMP mask, like fully. This is my mask. I've been wearing it long before this pandemic happened and seeing what just people would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Wish is probably like it's a good when you need a laugh. Like it's really weird when I'm scrolling at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm supposed to be sleeping or something. I'll just be like, "What's on Facebook? Let me look at all these videos." And the next thing you know, you just come across like, "Huh, double-handed dildo nunchucks. That's nice." Let's keep swiping there. But then when you download it, they don't show you any of that. I'm like, I actually want to buy the lightsaber.
Oh, I haven't gone that far yet. I haven't clicked on anything.
There's not that much on there. It's weird. Their advertising is really good. They hook you in, but then once you get on there, it's like there's none of it. Where's the lightsaber? I spent like an hour and a half looking for it.
Yeah.
So what do you plan on doing with the chip page? Do you want to turn that into more of a video type thing instead of just doing pictures?
Well, I'm not too sure to be honest. Like, I think it kind of just started out as something fun, like something that I would enjoy doing. I think I just wanted to just enjoy being like a quirky web presence, I suppose, which isn't really that quirky now that I think about it, considering like after starting it, just the amount of people who do something really similar.
Just wait
But
till somebody sends you in some chips to review. That's going to be
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, maybe. That'll be the big moment.
I
But
would
I think
ship
if
you
anything,
chips, but I tried to ship cereal to my buddy in Canada, David, and it came out to 60 something bucks for 3 boxes of cereal. I told him, I said, fuck that. International
um,
shipping is nuts.
yeah. But yeah, I think it was just more for me, I guess. It was just kind of something enjoyable to do. I do want to have like a live video of making my own chips. So
Ooh,
I have seen that recently, where you can actually make your own, like, yeah, make your own chips that look like they've come out of a packet. So that could be something new to try. I haven't really started, I don't do any live reviews or anything like that. Um, and maybe just because I like to think about it.
we'll just
That's,
record it
yeah.
on like a camera, like how we're doing, and then when you get the time for the video, just edit it down all those parts where you're thinking, or like this isn't live or anything. There's no one listening to us live, so it's like when I, it's the comfortability factor. If you want to edit out a part, you want to do whatever. I don't edit just because I I just want people to be like a fly in the room or whatever, just listen to the whole thing. But yeah, you could
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that
absolutely.
video content, especially making your own chips, taking people through the steps of why you're making this chip. I mean, the only chip I know how to make is like, besides putting it in the oven, but microwaving stuff to make nachos. You put cheese on top
Mm,
of it, and then bam.
yeah. But it's something to yeah, it's something to think about. I haven't really thought about like the future of the page or anything. At the moment, I'm just sort of just kind of enjoying it. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be a thing. Live reviews could be a thing. I think people enjoy that. I think people enjoy that sort of
They just want to
thing.
be
Like,
interactive. They want to know the person they're following is an actual person. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. For a while, I wasn't even sure if I kind of just wanted to be completely anonymous, which I think I've kind of maintained. But
You took a
yeah,
big step here, didn't you?
yeah.
Well, Kelly, I mean, I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast. I want to be able to
Thanks so much.
I want to be able to give you a minute here at the end to kind of promote any of your content, your Instagram page where people can find your chip reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just I have an Instagram page and it is underscore the chip connoisseur. Yeah, so give it a follow, please.
And
And thanks so much for having me, Robbie. It's been great chatting.
I'm glad that I actually talked to another chip reviewer, actually a chip connoisseur, which I think is a badass name because immediately you think connoisseur, you think like mustache, monocle, and also like bow tie, like fancy type, like the Werther's peanut.
Yeah, well, I do have a little logo, which is that's what it is.
That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, yeah, but it is a big I kind of have to live up to it, I suppose, being a connoisseur. I mean, you can't really call yourself that
Do you like it when
and
you
let
sniff the
people down.
bag? Do you add that in the review?
Yeah, I should. I think I should. I've started doing ratings out of 10. Actually, I feel like that helps people enjoy that.
I
People like to define things by numbers out of 10, I think.
I think the best one that really hits you with a nice whiff is a salt and vinegar. When you open up that bag and it makes your eyes water from the vinegar, you're like, oh, like that's awesome.
Absolutely. I would enjoy that. But again, like that's probably one of my least favorite flavors. So
It's because probably when you think of vinegar, you think of somebody putting it on like their carpet to get a stain out. Um, for me, that's always the scent I remember is like I'd spill something and someone had to put vinegar on something. So I remember when I was a kid, I just threw a bunch of salt and vinegar chips on the ground and stepped on top of them trying to soak up a spill. And now that I look back on it, I realize that's an idiot move. But at the time, it made sense because I just knew, oh, this has vinegar in it. Throw it on the ground. Next thing you know, you got apple juice and salt and vinegar chips crushed into the floor. I'm a genius.
that's very funny.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast and stay tuned for our next episode.